Okay, so you've got a water, that's good. And I don't know if Bruno asked you already, but you're okay with being recorded?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Wunderbar.
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 Das ist gut.
Yeah, das ist good.
Das ist gut. Ja.
I'm from Berlin, so.
Oh, I'm jealous. I love
Yeah.
Berlin.
Yeah, I actually live
Do
there
East
1
Berlin.
year. Yeah. I studied 1 semester of engineering over there. It's amazing because just numbers you can understand.
I had no idea. I don't know why that's
2000.
never come
It's a
up.
long time ago. We were
Oh,
not born.
you don't.
It was
wish.
after the wall.
I have more gray
After
hair
the
than
wall.
you do, Bruno. Come on.
Just a few years after the wall, just recently.
Yeah, just a few years.
I've got a few gray hairs on you.
It was an amazing.
What is it? I've been
experience.
married
I
for
love,
48
I
pounds.
love Berlin.
Yeah.
Berlin.
I've been married for 48
Oh,
pounds.
that's a fun one.
Did somebody walk out of here and wear one of those?
Dress.
Oh, jeez.
Came and then left.
Just fill the attendance sheet and.
Sarah scared him away. There he is.
Sorry, you
No
have to pay the
worries.
beer.
Oh, sweet.
Exactly.
Oh,
Is there beer after this?
Yes.
Wonderful.
It's my kind of school.
Okay, we're good.
I just started to come on time because you need to pay beers if you're late.
Oh, that's a
Ah,
good
I like
idea.
that
I think
rule.
I should
I like
institute
that
that.
rule, yeah.
I think that should be an official rule.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Good afternoon, class and guest classmates. So thank you for coming in and joining us. So today I would like to welcome Charlyne. Are you still going by Fothergill?
Yep.
Okay. So Charlyne is, among many things, also a new mom, but I've gotten to know relatively new.
2 years almost.
Already?
21 months, yeah, time flies.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Feels like it was just a little while ago.
Yeah.
So Charlyne and I have gotten to know each other for, gosh, probably the last 4 years.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to say right away that I've been impressed by Charlyne from the first day I met her. In my view, she's an amazing individual. She's a hard worker, does tons of stuff, has tons of experience. Not only that, but I guess part of the connection we have as well is that we both have the capability, I'm humble, of course, too, about it, but we both have the ability to take very complex information and be able to distill it into simple messaging. And that's certainly something that we connect together on. But also, just as an amazing person overall, even when I went through some hard times a couple of years ago, she was, whether she knows it or not, she was kind of a guiding light through that time. We all have it as entrepreneurs. I call it an entrepreneurial depression. It is a real thing. And so Charlyne was there for me when I was going through that time. And so it really speaks to her integrity and who she is. And she's huge on giving back to the community, just an overall amazing person. But why she's here today? So after this guest lecture, we're going to be learning about team coaching, HR, how that looks when you're a startup compared to as you're growing in the company and you're scaling, and what those things look like. And I know that during our class in the last 4 weeks, it's come up a few times. I've mentioned in terms of things, how they change when you're scaling. If you remember and recall when Philip was here, he was talking about how culture changes as you scale your company. It even came up yesterday when we were doing our meeting practice sessions, right? So I thought as part of this course, it would be really interesting and integral to learn about what that looks like as your company is growing, what HR and communications, the connections to that looks like at the very beginning, and what that may look like as you're scaling. And then really kind of going on to the back of Charlyne's experience and incredible wealth of knowledge, and have her speak to it, and then we can ask her questions and go from there. Now, I do have to say is this will probably be a very streamlined conversation because Charlyne has graced us with her presence, very thankfully, but she does have another commitment, so she has to get out of here pretty much hard right around 5. So, you know, there may not be time for a lot of questions, but we'll do our best. So, try to keep the questions like really straightforward. So, with
Good skill to have, especially
Yes.
with investors and mentors. Anyone will give you a cup of coffee. Get your questions.
So with no further ado, I will introduce Charlyne, and I also
Perfect.
over here
Yeah.
like a talk show. We should get
Yeah.
2 ferns.
We should, yeah.
Yeah.
Couch.
Between 2 ferns.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll be the Zach Galifianakis.
Awesome.
Maybe only you and I know that one. Oh, maybe Marion does
We
too.
got some cultural reference.
Yeah. You know 2 fern? Between 2 fern? Okay, good. Yeah, good. Anyways, so I've introduced Charlyne, so thank you for coming today. Maybe we could start off with having you, I've done a brief introduction, but let's hear it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for the kind words. That's really awesome, and it's been a pleasure working with Paul. And I will say one of the great things in business as an entrepreneur, when you meet really great, genuine people who are smart business people, and they're also really nice and kind people, you should hang on to those relationships and nurture them, because unfortunately, you will meet all kinds in the business world. So it's been an absolute pleasure knowing Paul and working with him. So I've done a bunch of different things. So I have a degree in theater, and then I have a post-grad degree in education. So I thought I was going to be a high school drama teacher. And then I was very just fortunate, I fell into the world of HR. So when I came back from school, I did school in Australia. I was actually teaching at a language school for a little while and was kind of going, what do I want to do? And I decided I didn't want to teach high school, and I wanted to work with adults, and I thought that was called corporate training. Teacher, adults, and then I was like, that's called HR. So I was going to go back to school for a year and get my HR upgrade. Come on in, no worries. Get my HR upgrade, and I was just very fortunate to apply for an entry-level HR position that my friend had in her company she was working with, and I got the job. So I did HR for, I think, six or 7 years. I don't know how old I am anymore. And I did it at an advertising agency. I did it at an engineering firm, and then I did it at a tech company. And I fell in love with tech, and I love tech. It's like my place. It's super smart people. They're kind of nerdy. It's just the best. And when I wrapped up that contract, it was a maternity leave contract, I was very fortunate that just the stars aligned, and I got offered a position to take over the Grow Lab Accelerator program. So Grow Lab, probably very similar to how this college is structured, lots of guest speakers. We kind of like Dragon's Den, Shark Tank, they pitch, we pay them some money, we take a piece of their business, but then we also put them through a 3-month program that was very about connecting with entrepreneurs, getting ready for investors, lots of pitch stuff. So I just oversaw all that program and learned about this whole crazy world that Paul's been in as an entrepreneur himself. Grow Lab merged with another company to become Highline, and at that time I was lucky enough that Lighthouse Labs, which is a school to teach people to become software developers, was working out of the same co-working space as me, and I had a chance to see them for the past year. Loved what they're doing, loved that they were solving a real problem of talent and to become developers. They have a passion for everyone needs code, everyone needs to know code, especially as entrepreneurs, some working knowledge, and got invited to join their team, and I set up their career services. So I was responsible for getting all the students jobs. So it was kind of full circle, HR background, connections with entrepreneurs looking to hire talent, teaching background, all that stuff for my role now. So that's what I do in my 9 to 5, day to day, 9 to 5, and then have always stayed active in the entrepreneur community, helping with pitches and speaking events and HR stuff, and yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. So if you have any weird backgrounds, everyone has weird backgrounds. It's normal to have a weird background, so don't ever think you can't change your background to something different.
Yeah, varied experience can be very handy.
Absolutely.
So Charlyne, thank you for that. So out of curiosity, so my presumption is that you've seen kind of the change from early days. I would say probably in Lighthouse Labs,
Yep.
for example, the change in the early days of how building a team when you're at the very beginning, what the coaching kind of looked like that in there, and how the HR traits were. Can you tell us, what's some of the big differences you would see back then compared to what you see now?
Absolutely.
And then can you maybe connect that to what kind of communications might be
Yeah.
abridged within that.
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing when you're starting your company is you probably have, like, there's an expression in English, jack of all trades. Are you guys familiar with that expression?
No.
So they're just people that have a wide variety of skills, as opposed to specialized skill sets. So you'll have someone, those are the people you need at the beginning of your business, because you have to be a small team that has to get a lot of stuff done, and you don't have money, so you can't hire a lot of people. So you want people on your team that is not only a great marketer, someone who can market, or a good Facebook ad person, or a good social media person, but also someone who can, either has the skill or is comfortable doing your admin or doing some other part of the business, or someone who's connected in the industry who can also then maybe introduce you to investors to pitch to. So usually at the beginning, just like you folks as entrepreneurs, you probably have a lot of skills. And when you start your business, you're going to be doing a lot of different things. You need a couple more yous on your team. They need to be similar to you, but not the same. It's not helpful for me as an HR, I'll say HR operations is my skill set. Me bringing another HR operations person on my team as when I'm starting my business, maybe, depending what my business is in, but I probably need to bring someone on my team who is good at sales, who is good at finance, who is a little bit more visionary than me. I'm a little bit get down into the details quickly. So I want someone that also has a big skill set, but I don't want them to have the same skill set as me, because that doesn't get us that many skills. You want as many skills as possible. So when you're in the early stages, that's the type of people you want. And then you want people that are passionate. Those early stage people, like I'd almost say, get the young person that's passionate, that maybe has less experience in the beginning, than really holding out for that expert, because you just need to get stuff done. And at the beginning, you might fail. Your business might not even make it past year one, so who cares if you've got the best social media, Facebook ad marketer in the world? Like, you don't need that at the beginning, you just need somebody to wear that hat to do that job. I need someone, I don't know anything about social media and how to market it. I need someone who knows how to do that, because I don't know how to do that. And if I can find a young, new grad who just thinks I'm cool and thinks my idea is cool and wants to work for cheap or free, or that I give beers to, I don't know, that's the person you want on your team. So that's what the beginning looks like, and you kind of grow your team with more of those people. I was very much like that at Lighthouse Labs. When I joined, obviously, I was tasked a year in to set up career services. They've been doing it before. All the founders did exactly that. None of them had done that job before, so I knew how to do that, but then I also brought a bunch of other things to the table, and I was doing it. And HR, I didn't officially start doing HR at Lighthouse Labs until July of last year, when I came back from maternity leave. I officially got the title of HR. Before that, I was kind of doing it, and they'd call me when things got messy, but it was finally I was like, hey guys, let me do this for our company, because we are growing and we need someone who's overseeing this. So that was kind of a thing with Lighthouse Labs. As your company grows, you need to start looking at the skills you need. So at the beginning, everyone's got every skills, and everyone's kind of doing an okay job at a lot of things. And that's when you get some initial traction, and you need to know what skills you need an expert in. And that's where you're going to spend your money. That's your first key hire, your first senior hire. You're going to hire that person that is but they're going to be very focused. Their only job is Facebook ads to get you revenue. That's their only job. You're still going to have probably 3 or 4 other people on the team that are doing everything, but that first hire, and you need to identify what that hire is. Is it a salesperson? Usually it's sales or marketing, because that's how you get money in usually, but it might be a really killer CTO. If you're not very technical and you've managed to hodgepodge or mush up something out the door, and then you need someone to come in and rebuild or get smarter about how to build your products, it's going to be big and you need to think ahead, that might be your thing. Or it might be a really great product person, because you might be technical, but not know how to plan a product and break out, how do I add to my app? How do I change this product down the road? So that specialized hire becomes a really big deal for a startup. And then I'd say the other key thing is startups, because the beginning is so much like a family. You're working lots of hours, you're close, they're often your friends, sometimes they're your family, literally. So you have to be okay with hiring above them. The biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs make in hiring is at the beginning they hire a marketing person, right? They hire someone with 1 or 2 years experience, maybe they have 3 years experience, right? And they're great, and they work with the company for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they're doing amazing, and you're so happy to have them. And then they just hit a point where they don't have the knowledge to take your business to the next level. It's not because they're not a hard worker. It's not because they're not an amazing person. They just don't have the knowledge. And that's the worst as the startup founder. And you have to make a decision. Do you have enough money to hire that expert and keep them? Because if you can have 2 marketers, great, even better. And maybe that marketer has some other skills because they were kind of early on the team. But sometimes you have to get rid of them to hire that expert. It's very real. Don't delay that decision. Don't shy away from it. No one said being an entrepreneur is easy, and it's honestly the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs make. The other reason is sometimes that person has the skill, and then the founder is worried about hurting their feelings. Oh, they've been with us for 3 years, and they started as a intern, and now they're a coordinator, and now they're a manager, and you've given them titles, which mean nothing in the startup world. Even in the business world, it means nothing. So you've given this title as manager, and now I'm going to hire a director above them. Their feelings are going to be hurt. No, you have to make a business decision. So that's some of the changing of like your job descriptions and your organizational chart is very normal. Is you start to get more specialized, you start to get more focused. Sometimes you can do that with the people you have. At Lighthouse, we absolutely have. We have branch staff now that have very key jobs, and we've like looked at our org chart. So I just say, one, you have to look at it eventually, and you have to be ready to make those decisions. Communication tips is write job descriptions. Get organized. In HR, a lot of people think HR, oh God, HR, you don't usually have an HR person until quite further along. I'd say you don't need an HR person, a full-time HR person, to probably around 50 people. You can usually get away with a junior, or there's consultants, like you don't probably need it to around 50 people, maybe even more. But you need to have job descriptions right away. Have job descriptions and start writing out process. Start writing out how you do sales at your company. Because that's going to change all the time, and keep that up to date, because the other mistake I see with startups is they don't do that. And nobody likes to do that. Startup founders really don't like doing that, because you guys are the crazy visionaries that like to go around and run around and come up with ideas. And so someone on your team should be the person who likes to write process down, which is why I'm a great person as your startup co-founder, but not the founder. Because if you leave, if that salesperson leaves, and they do, lots at the beginning, and you don't know how they were doing sales, where are your customers, who were they talking to, what point of the sale were certain deals in, and you don't have that information because you didn't write anything down, you didn't have like either software or use spreadsheets. Just use spreadsheets. You can create like everything out of a spreadsheet. At minimum, have a spreadsheet. This customer, I did a 15-minute call with them. We sent them a proposal. They are negotiating price. Like, create a sales pipeline on a spreadsheet, but have it there and have it updated all the time, because we always joke that you get hit by a bus or you win the lottery. That's the nice way to say it. But basically, if any one person in your company doesn't come back tomorrow, where's your business at? And that's a huge piece, and startup founders don't want to do it because, fair enough, it's not fun. If your brain is creative and exciting, that's a boring thing to do it, because that's a huge thing. And job descriptions and writing out process help make it easier to train new people, make it easier to set expectations, especially job descriptions, even if they're changing. Setting a job description for that social media person that you hired who's got 1 year experience, and then changing their job description as the company grows and as their experience grows. Just review job descriptions once a year. Do a review the job description, update the job description. It makes it so much easier that when you do have to hire that director, you can pull out the job description and you can be like, hey, this is what you're doing, and you're doing a great job. But here is the job description and the job posting I need for our business. We see how they're different. And it's just really clear that expectation, like that's so much easier. And I would say even in the early days, another huge thing I saw was a lot of founders need job descriptions. And founders need legal documents. I have a saying, and I might get lost in translation, so apologies. I have a saying that the person you marry is not the same person you divorce. Does that kind of make, that translates okay, right?
It's the same expression in my country.
Okay, they got an expression too,
Makes sense.
exactly. So your founders are always close. Like you might not be best friends, you might be family, but you have to be close because you need to be close to get going at the beginning of your business. You need stuff on paper. I have seen it. I have been part of it, unfortunately, where I got screwed over. I lost shares because I signed something I knew better not to sign. I didn't question because I didn't want, I was like, I felt bad. I was like, oh, this person, like, and then basically when push came to shove, all of a sudden they weren't happy with me and I was in an advisor type role and they weren't happy with me and they wanted to end the role. And I said, okay, we have an agreement. You owe me these shares. Are you sure you want to end this role? Let's work this out. Let's figure this out. And there was just some of the wording that I kind of knew when I was like small print, fine print, which I knew when I was signing, but I didn't say anything because I was kind of excited. It was my first time being asked to be an advisor, and I signed the paper, and then sure enough, like I kind of tried to push and whatever, and then I talked to a lawyer, and they're like, you're going to spend maybe you can argue this, but you'll spend so much money, it's probably not worth it, and so I just walked away. So make sure you have stuff on paper, and with founders, same thing, especially with your shares. Everyone seen the Facebook movie?
Yeah.
That whole situation where the shares, if you don't have on paper what you're owed and you want to end things with your founder, that's when that happens. So, and even early on, split it, know what you guys are doing, like know who has what, and then on the job description, you want to get organized and have that communication so that you can start building your business. So a fun game I used to play with the Grow Lab entrepreneurs. So in Canada or North America, there's a wedding game that's a tradition. It's called the shoe game. So the bride and groom sit back to back in chairs, and I've got my shoe and my husband's shoe. And someone will ask a question and say, who snores? And we'll go husband, and he'll go wife, and we'll be like, what? Like, we thought we knew each other. Who's the better driver? Who's the better cook? And the point is, do you know your partner? So with the companies, I play the same game. I say, okay, if this situation happened, who gets to make the decision? If a customer wants a certain feature on the product, who makes the final decision? And I used to make my entrepreneurs put their shoes up and see if they had the same answer. And when they didn't, it's like, that's a problem, because that's going to happen. And then you guys aren't going to know who is responsible for that. It doesn't mean that someone gets to make a decision without consulting the other founder, but you need to know what areas of the business you have responsibility for. Because when you are close, that's when you'll argue. And it's fine to argue, founders argue, and as you're at Lighthouse Labs, I'm very close with the founders, they argue, but they have, over the years, really defined whose job is in each area. So that when they can't make a decision, if you can't make a decision, you can't move forward in your business. So when they can't make a decision, it's taken time, but they know now that, okay, this is Jeremy's decision to make. This is Josh's decision to make. This is Karan's decision to make. It doesn't mean they don't argue about it for an hour, but when it gets to the point that they're not going to come to a decision together, someone has to say, okay, guys, I hear you, but that this is I'm the CFO, or as the CFO, I can't approve us taking debt to build this product. So, sorry guys, I'm the CFO, this is where, and those two partners, because they've had those communications, and I don't think they have job descriptions, they should, but they had those communications, everyone goes, okay, and it ends the conversation and you move forward. So that kind of stuff, we don't think about that at the early stage, because it's all fun, and it's, oh, I have this great idea, and we're drinking beers, and coming up with logos and names, and talking to customers, and worried about our first contract that we send to a customer to make sure that it's legal and that we're going to get paid, that we don't stop to think internally about our teams and our company when we're really small. And some of these really easy things to do, they don't cost any money to just write job descriptions, have them updated once a year, can really save you a lot of time and potentially money and legal stuff in the future if you just spend the time to do it at the beginning. Yeah. It's a lot.
A lot. I think we're all learning a lot. That was a lot of information. That's good.
And please tell me if I talk too fast. I'm assuming I talk very fast, so I know that I can be hard to understand. Okay.
Brazilians don't talk fast. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe
What?
Spanish.
So actually, I shouldn't have been so presumptuous. Maybe you could tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about Lighthouse Labs and what it is. I don't know if everybody here knows what Lighthouse Labs is, so.
Yeah, so I'll give my
probably-
little shameless plug for Lighthouse Labs.
Yeah.
So we're a coding school. So our whole mission is to teach people to become software developers. So it's a 10-week program. It's intensive, immersive, 10, 12 hours a day. And we take you from zero, you don't have to have any previous experience, to becoming ready for to be a junior developer in the workforce. That's our main program. That's what we call our boot camp. We run programs every month. We have campuses Vancouver, Toronto, every single month, and then we run programs in Victoria, Calgary, and Montreal. We've done programs in Halifax, Ottawa. We're across Canada. But then in addition, we have part-time programs, so introduction programs. We have a JavaScript-based front-end course. We have a general intro to web development, so you'll learn databases all the way to the front end. And then we have a mobile app, so an iOS course. And those are part-time. They're in the evening, and they're designed for everybody. They're really basic. The boot camp, you have to go through an admissions process because we want to make sure that you have the aptitude, the skills to get where you need to go. That's the simplest of it.
Cool.
We have a 97% job rate, 97